Good morning. This is the Board of Appeals, Town of Hempstead, May 10th, 2023, 9:30 meeting. Will everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Chairman, do you have any opening remarks?
Many of you have been here before, and you know the protocol. For those of you who have not been here before, we will call adjournments first. Then we will call the cases in numerical order. The applicant will present their case. If there are any objectors, they will be given the opportunity to voice their objections, and then we will recall the applicant or their representative, and they will close the case. Once the case is closed, we will not accept any additional evidence. The board, however, does take notice, and we do read emails, letters, all of which will be presented during the course of the hearings. If any of you are objectors and you wish to repeat anything that was said before, you merely have to say, you know, I agree with so-and-so who came before. Patrick?
Mr. Chairman, we have one case for adjournment today. Case 242-23, Woodmere, Ronnie and Vanessa Lavowski. Variances, lot area occupied, height exceeds number of stories, rear yard, construct 1, 2, and 3-story additions and wood deck, all attached to dwelling, also known as 931 Eileen Terrace.
Good morning. Could you
No, it's not.
please speak a little into the mic?
Thomas DeMonico, architect, 108 Merrick
Could you
Road.
speak up, sir?
Thomas DeMonico, architect, 108 Merrick Road, Limbrook, New York. We are requesting an adjournment on this case. We failed to properly notice this case, and we're requesting an adjournment.
How much time do you think you need to
We
properly
could
notice?
go as soon as possible.
Patrick?
The soonest would be June 7th.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, Mr. DeMonico, this case was originally scheduled for April
Correct.
5th. What happened? Why was it adjourned then?
We received the notice in an email, and the email, I never saw the email, and
And here we are again.
here we are again. This time we did the mailing, but we mailed it improperly. We mailed it the old way at the adjourning neighbors, not the 100-foot radius for the certified.
Thank you.
So you know the mailing date for the June 7th? It's
I'll
between
get
the
it.
11th and the 18th. Yeah, the 11th to the 18th is your mailing window for the June 7th date. Is that A or B?
That would be AM.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else who's here on that case? If you are, you won't get it, well, you will get the notice of the new, you get the notice of the new,
Mr. Chairman, I do not have any other requests for adjournment.
Okay, call the first case.
Okay. First, we have case 268-23 near Belrose. Sonia Escobar, renewal of grant to maintain two-family dwelling, also known as 9215 245th Street. Raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Just take a seat and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, good morning. We came today for
Name and
renewal.
address? Name and address for the record?
9215 245th Street.
Your
for-
name?
Sonia Escobar. Well, I'm her daughter. I'm the translator.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so this is a, go ahead. Go ahead. What do you
I'm
wanna
sorry,
say?
do one of you live there?
I live with her. I'm her
Or
daughter.
you live in one of the units?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
gave her address.
Where does Sonia live?
She lives with me. We live in the same house.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure.
Right, so this is a renewal of a grant to maintain a two-family dwelling. The building department inspected the premises on February 14th, 2023, and found that you have complied with all the conditions previously imposed by this board. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No.
Do I have any other questions? Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. You'll be notified by mail of the board's decision once it's rendered.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any
Thank
abstentions?
you.
Next, we have case 26923 Baldwin, Letitia Lee and Jacqueline Caddo Lee. Renewal of grant to maintain two-family dwelling, also known as 2506 Parkview Place. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, sir. Please take a seat and state your name and address for the record.
Letitia Lee, 2506 Parkview Place in Baldwin, New York.
Jacqueline Cato Lee, 2506 Parkview Place, Baldwin, New York.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is also a renewal of a grant to maintain a two-family dwelling. The building department inspected the premises on February 24th, 2023, and found that you were in compliance with all conditions previously imposed by this board. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. You will both receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it's rendered. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Second.
Thank you,
Second.
too.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions?
Next, we have case 27023 Baldwin, Trevor R. Jones Jr., renewal of grant to maintain two-family dwelling, also known as 654 Westminster Road. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address into the microphone.
Tina Pangallo, 549 Hempstead Turnpike, West Hempstead, New York, 11552. Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. I'm representing Trevor Jones for the renewal of his two-family, which expired in 2014. When Mr. Jones was before the board for his previous renewal, he needed to legalize his finished basement with half-bath and a raised concrete patio. The finished basement with half-bath now has a certificate of completion, and I was before the board on November 30th to obtain a variance for the raised concrete patio. That also now has a certificate of completion. And an inspection was done, I believe, by the area inspector, and I think everything was in order, and we're respectfully asking the board to grant the variance.
Is the raised concrete patio, sorry, I can't work this in. What the inspector noted here, that the porch is now in the permit process. Is that the same thing?
Yes, that's correct.
And so that now is already, has the CO?
Yes,
Okay.
I have a copy if you need it.
Any other permits in the process on that?
No, everything is completed and signed off.
Okay. Building department inspected the premises on January 5th, 2023, and found that your clients were complying with all the previous conditions imposed by the board. Do I have any other questions from the board?
Yes, your client lives there, I don't know whether.
Yes, he does.
And that's Trevor Jones
Correct.
at 654 Westminster.
Yes.
Thank you.
For the
No
record,
one-
right?
Any other questions? Motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Ms. Pangallo, you'll be notified by mail of the board's decision once it's rendered.
Thank you.
All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Next, we have case 27123 East Meadow, Shana and Tariq Ahmed Sheikh. Variance, lot area occupied, maintain roof over open porch attached dwelling, also known as 1400 East Sally Court. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Please take a seat and state your name and address into the microphone.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is James Lerner, 424 Madison Street, Westbury, New York. I'm representing Shana and Tariq Sheikh. We had, I have one thing. We're here for an open porch that created a larger lot coverage. We had been granted a variance for lot coverage of 29.3%. During construction, my clients were told that the area where the porch is would not get any light, and so they built about a 12 to 14-inch stone porch, and that upped the lot coverage to 31.6%. And that's essentially why we're here. Oh, and I have a picture of the porch.
All right, so
We have it. We have,
we have.
You have that?
yes.
We have a search sheet that was updated on the 7th of March. And there are a number of open permits. I'm assuming you're going to speak to that. But the one that I was interested in is the one that says, variances to construct additions and alterations in excess of 50% per BZA grant. So when was that matter? I don't independently recall it. When was that before us?
That was in 2020. We
Okay.
appeared before the board,
And are
and it was
those-
granted.
Okay, and are all those items that were requested pursuant to that case completed?
Yes.
Okay, so are you aware of the, let me count up there.
Number of open permits.
Okay, so there's an '04 permit for a rear extension that's apparently still open. There's the case.
That was never built.
Pardon me?
That was never built, so it was superseded by.
Okay, I don't know what you need to do administratively, but you want to close that out then.
We will
somehow.
close that.
Then you have the case that came before the zoning board that we just spoke of. Have those permits been closed out? Because this is a 2-month-old sheet, but at that time, they were still open. Do you know if those have been closed?
I don't believe they've been closed out in that period between.
Okay, and then there's a finished cellar from 2020. Has that been completed?
Yes.
So that was,
I think they're waiting for the inspection, and we had to do,
also,
and we had to do this, so.
so it's not closed out either, okay. Then there's a central AC installation that's still open, or that says app near, and then there's a 22 case, maintain existing front porch with roof over.
And that's what we're here for, and they took the 22 permit, and we're here, I believe, on a supplement on the 2020 permit.
The
They've
only thing
decided
you're here
not
for
to do
now-
that as a separate permit. The 22999,
Yeah, that's the one you're here for now.
Yeah.
The only thing we have here is the roofed over porch, right?
yes, and the roof was there before, but they built the stone patio rather than have a flower bed that was
So
going to
you want
die.
to get all those permits closed up, that'll be part of this process, of course. I just wanted you to know that they were there.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
Any questions? I move the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Mr. Lerner, you'll be notified by mail of the board's decision once it's ready. Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next, we have case 27223 Belmore, Freeport Tax, care of Warren Gruberger. Relocate 8-foot-high fence within property lines, also known as 2584 Sunrise Highway. Swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please take a seat, state your name and address into the microphone.
My name is Maria Miro. I'm from Maria J. Miro Design and Drafting, located at 1002 Merrick Avenue, North Merrick, New York, 11566.
Morning.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. It's actually a pleasure to see everyone. I'm here today to represent Warren Gruberger, the owner of Freeport Tax, located at 2584 Sunrise Highway in Belmore. Basically, there was an existing fence on, at this location. It was there for 20 years. When they went to do the dry welds and the addition and had to get an updated survey, they realized the fence was over the property line at the adjacent property owner's location. So they had to move the fence back so that it was within the property line. It's on the easterly side of the property line from the rear towards the back of the abutting shed, that is the adjacent property owner's shed. And, I mean, I have photos, I'm sure you have photos already.
I'm sorry, I apologize, I missed part of that. So it's to relocate the fence within the property line?
Correct. The fence has been there.
So not on the property line?
Yeah, within the property line. It was
Within or not on?
within the property line. It's about 6 inches, because it's curbing that's 6 inches within to contain the water. So the fence is located, it had to go back into the property line. When they did an updated survey, it showed that fence was on the adjacent property owner's property, so we had to move it in.
So that's where you move, now, it runs all the way to the street? the proposal?
No, it runs to the back of the shed. You'll see it, it's on the easterly portion of the property line.
Yeah, I'm
I have a
looking at-
small copy of the plot
I
plan.
don't see a shed.
If, I just gave a picture in, did you see it?
But I don't see it on the
Here's,
site plan.
here's a, I photocopied the plot plan, not prepared by me, but you could see where the yellow line is. Maybe that will make it more clearer. It's an adjacent building. Maybe it's not quite a shed.
Wait, hold on.
The adjacent property owner has a building located
Doesn't look anything like
right on the property line.
Oh, you mean the neighbor's shed?
Yes,
Oh,
correct.
That's why.
Yes.
Now,
I said adjacent property owner, I should have said neighbor, kept it simple.
It's the same thing.
so, hold on a second. What is, this one that you handed in has a proposed one-story stucco on it. Now, I know you're not here for that.
Yes,
Is
that's,
that there, or is that an old?
That-
Only because it does factor in with the fence.
that was the most recent plan submitted to the building department when they had to go do the updated survey because it looks like they're installing some dry wells. The fence became the issue.
Yeah, so, okay, so my site plan is wrong. Because that's an issue, because I didn't want it to go up to the street.
Yeah.
Especially at 8 feet. So it stops,
Yeah,
it's consistent with this other one that you handed in, which,
the location of this fence basically stops the cars from going into the adjacent property owner's property, and it doesn't obstruct view because it butts up against that building that's on the property line.
yeah.
I'm not sure what you're looking at if you,
Yeah. Is that shed on the neighbor's property, do you know if it has a permit?
I don't know, it's a building, it's for the, it's not our
I know.
property. I pulled the information up from my Nassau property. You could take this too if you'd like. See, this is this might show it, this is the adjacent, you could take this is the adjacent property owner. Excuse me. If you see, it's actually the building. I might have said the wrong thing. I'm handing you the, what I pulled up from my Nassau property. You could actually see the adjacent property owner with the fence behind it.
That proposed addition, that's with the building department now, if you know?
As far as I know, I'm covering for April Madigan today, so.
Okay.
This might make it clearer for you, because this is the adjacent property owner, so you could see the way the building is, and the fence is directly behind. It's the white fence.
Okay. Are these first, we took these into evidence?
Yeah, you could keep it.
Move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Ms. Miro and anyone else who signed in on the matter will receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it is rendered.
Thank you. Good to see you all.
Likewise.
Bye.
Aye.
Next, we have case 27323 Woodmere, Joshua Greenstein and Jessica Handler Greenstein. Variances, lot area occupied, average front yard setback, rear yard setback, construct second-story addition attached to dwelling, also known as 325 Edward Avenue. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yeah. Please state your name and address into the record.
Good morning. I'm Monty Leeper, architect, located at 414 Foxhurst Road in Oceanside, and I'm here with Josh Greenstein.
325 Edward Avenue, Woodmere, New York.
Good morning. Josh and Jessica Greenstein, residing at 325 Edward Avenue in Woodmere, New York, which is Section 39, Block 191, Lot 55 to 57, are requesting zoning variances in Zone B to increase the area of the second floor within the footprint of the home to accommodate bedrooms for their family of 6. The original home had a front yard setback of 25.3 feet, and that setback is not changing. It remains 25.3 feet, even though the adjacent homes were measured as having an average setback of 27.7 feet, a difference of 29 inches, or 2.4 feet. We are asking to vary from the average front yard setback of 29 inches and continue the original setback with the second floor squared off for more living space. The lot area variance request is to exceed the 34% of the current home approved in 1958 under permit number 195814, merely to add code-compliant steps from the rear door to the rear yard. The variance request is for 0.3% over the current 34%. The 34% to 34.3%. The current concrete steps are the original 1958 steps, which are not code compliant. The outside platform at the top is required to be a minimum of 3 feet wide by 3 feet deep, where the current platform and steps are only 2 feet, 8 inches wide, and 16 inches deep. The platform is constructed of bricks and concrete, which is crumbling. I'm proposing a platform of 4 feet 4 3/4 inches wide by 4 feet deep to accommodate the sliding glass door opening at the top. The stationary panel of the sliding glass door is wider than the steps, but we did not want to make the steps larger than necessary for children darting up and down the stairs at the same time. As for the variance request for the rear yard setback, again, we are requesting to maintain the same setback as the current footprint from 1958, which is a setback of 23.7 feet, where 25 feet is required for the second story additional area above the existing first floor footprint. The variance request is for 1.3 feet or 16 inches less than the required setback. The Greensteins are raising their 4 young children in these cramped quarters currently and have purchased the house in 2016. They have patiently waited through the trying times of COVID, and since the proposed application enhances the neighborhood, does not restrict emergency access to the site, will not block sunlight to adjacent properties, and will not adversely affect the health, safety, or welfare of adjacent properties, the surrounding neighborhood, or the community environs, the Greensteins and I respectfully request that the variances be granted. That's our case. I also, by the way, have 15 letters from neighbors in favor of the application, which I'd like to submit. And if necessary, I made a couple of more photos that show a little more clearly the rear steps if it's necessary.
It's your choice. We'll take them.
Mr. Leeper, are you aware that you still have an open permit from 2005 to install gas-fired boiler with the water heater? You'll close that out? If it
It's been
It
closed.
has been?
Well, it's not closed in the file, so just check on it before you go, okay?
We're in the process of making sure that all the, there's also another one for maintain a finished basement that's waiting for this
Right along.
hearing.
Do I have any other questions from the board?
Move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Mr. Leeper, Mr. Greenstein, or Stein, however I'm supposed to say it. You'll both receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it's ready. Thank you, have a nice day.
Do I have
Thank
a
you.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions?
Next, we have case 27423, Merrick. Mark Husbands Jr. and Danielle Edwards, mother-daughter residence, second kitchen, also known as 1832 Ada Place. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please take a seat and state your name and address to the microphone.
Tina Pangallo, 549 Hempstead Turnpike, West Hempstead, New York, 11552.
Sharon Davis Edwards, 1832 Ada Place, Merrick, New York, 11566.
Danielle Edwards, 1832 Ada Place, Merrick, New York, 11566.
Mark Husbands, 1832 Ada Place, Merrick, New York, 11566.
Good morning.
Okay, good morning again. I'm representing Mark Husbands Jr. and Danielle Edwards of 1832 Ada Place in Merrick. The house is located on the southeast corner of Ada Place and Edith Place in Residence B. We're requesting a variance to maintain a second kitchen for mother-daughter use. In the primary household is Danielle Edwards, her husband Mark, and their two daughters, Dominique, 17, and Marissa, 16. In the secondary unit is Danielle's mom, Sharon Davis Edwards. There's enough off-street parking for 3 vehicles. They have also been made aware that if this is granted, it is only for their use, and the kitchen must be removed if titles or circumstances change. There will be 1 mailbox, 1 doorbell, and 1 electric meter. There are quite a few open permits on the search sheet, probably, that you have. Pete Hegman, the area building inspector, was there a few weeks ago to close out what he could. He was able to close out the shed, the fence, the relocation of the pool equipment. He's waiting for the mother-daughter permit to be approved before he signs off on that second-story addition and the porch and the bathroom. I have an updated search from OpenGov to show which permits are left still open.
Would you like to submit that?
Yes.
Okay, we'll take it in evidence.
And that's my case.
Ms. Pengello, I'm trying to
Yes.
reconcile the plans on file with the photograph. So the photograph of the rear of the house appears to show 4 doors, 3 along the back wall and 1 on the new enclosed porch. But I don't see I only see 3 in the plans on the rear, and I see 4 in the photographs. I think the one that may be missing from the plans
Let's see. where's
is
the
the
rear?
one on what's supposedly a garage. I think it's right there is the one missing.
Okay, see that door, this door.
The one with the half-moon window, I think is the one that I might not have on the plans.
The one near the chimney? This one here, at the end of the house? Oh, okay.
The half-moon window,
Right, okay, I see.
that looks like it, so the one that's got the window with the squares, that appears to be the one that goes into the restroom, is my guess. Yes.
Right.
On the plans. And then there's the one next to that, which goes into like the main, the rec room, I guess. And then there's the one that goes into the, on the side of the porch.
Right,
And then there's another, two more on the porch, I guess.
so on the back.
Does the
in
porch have
back.
3 doors to it?
There's one on the other side,
Yeah. What about on the very back?
no, upstairs.
Oh, well, this is on the lower lower level.
So, yeah, it's just the one on, there's one right here.
Right, so there's the
So
one in the
plans
corner,
have-
the one on the
plans show
side.
5 doors on the back of the house. And they are missing one of the doors from the photograph.
Yeah, these plans were submitted back in 2017. We didn't draw them up, so
Now, the plans
guess
have
those would need to
7
be.
doors on the house, not including the front door. And we don't have one of them that's in the picture. How many doors to enter the house are there? The one that I think is missing from the plans is on the garage.
is this one.
Yeah, say, give your name and address.
So there were some things that they changed on when I called. They said that they didn't submit the updated plan. The contractor didn't submit the updated plan to the town, so that would have been on the updated plan.
Well, we have to have the most recent. How many doors are there to entering the house on the main level?
The house was like over to the garage, that door that you're talking about.
Yeah, but that's not, Ms. Bengala, that's not on the plan.
Right, that's not on the plans, I see
And-
that.
And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 doors on the back of the house, 7 around the front, around the side, there's a 7th door. And, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are showing, and so there's 7 doors, not including the front door.
So this needs a door.
So we do need to get the plan updated.
There is no door here.
There's one here,
There's one at the back.
yeah, and this is actually the side.
Okay, and there's one here.
There's one here.
Right, so there is.
Yeah, so
We're missing the
number
door
one,
on the
plans
garage.
have to be updated to show that door, right?
Yes.
What's in the garage? Have you been there, Ms. Bengala?
I've not been in the garage.
Storage.
When was the door added? How long have you owned the house?
7,
Did you guys add the door, or was it there when you bought it?
No, when we did the addition over the house, that was added.
And there's only 2 levels to this house, right?
Correct.
Because it's like a,
It's a split level.
yeah. How many kitchens are in the house?
Just one.
Oh, just one? Okay. So we for sure have to update the plans.
Yes. Yes.
That's what we want to do, but we don't have to right now.
Let's get this piece of it out of the way. Ms. Bengala, as you know, the Board of Architectural Review reviews all mother-daughter applications, makes recommendations to this board, and opines as to whether or not it's a good application, the structure for a mother-daughter / immediate family, and whether or not it's revertible back to a single-family dwelling at the cessation of any mother-daughter immediate family use. In your case, the Board of Architectural Review has made no recommendations for changes that you need to address, and finds it suitable for a mother-daughter and for the reversion subsequent to that to a single-family dwelling.
Thank you.
You have anything you'd like to add?
No.
Did you go through the columns and blah, 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 blah? And that she
Testified.
And you've advised your clients about the fact that this is an individual grant if it's made.
Yes, they're aware this only pertains to them, and if the title changes or any circumstances change, that the kitchen must be removed.
Any other questions from the board? No questions? Okay, do I have a motion? Mrs.
Have the
D'Amato?
next case too, so.
Ms. Pangallo?
Yes.
So, as you know, the plans have the proposed plans, and then usually we have the reversion plan. This is titled the existing lower level floor plan demolition. Is that just terminology? Is this the reversion plan, I take it? Or does this have a demolition proposed?
No, that's the reversion plan. That's how they labeled it.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move that hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Ms. Pangallo, you and everyone else who signed in on the matter will receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it's rendered. Thank you all for coming, and have a very nice day.
Do I have a second?
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstentions?
See you later.
Next, we have cases 27523 through 27823, Oceanside.
File the updated plan.
Yes, I'll have them take care of that.
Oceanside, Selena and Thomas Feinstein. Special exception to maintain accessory structure, shed higher than permitted and exceeding horizontal maximum. Special exception to maintain second accessory structure, shed with less than required side yard setback and not permitted in this side yard. Maintain hot tub with less than required side yard setback and not permitted in the side yard. Maintain pool equipment with less than required side yard setbacks, also known as 166 Irma Drive.
Again?
Let the record reflect that we still have Ms. Pangallo signed in from earlier.
Tina Pangallo, 549 Hempstead Turnpike, West Hempstead, New York, 11552. Representing Selena and Thomas Feinstein of 166 Irma Drive in Oceanside. The property is located on the north side of Irma Drive, 149 feet east of Ocean Lee Drive in Residence B. We're requesting variances to maintain 2 sheds, a hot tub, and pool equipment. Shed number 1 violates the maximum length allowed of 12 by 12. The length provided is 12.26 by 7.08. The square footage is 86.8 square feet, so it is within the 144 square feet
Scared me.
allowed.
I was going to say, I don't have larger on here.
The Feinstein purchased the home about 18 years ago, and the shed was existing at the time and looked to be about 10 years old at that time. The second shed is in the side yard. It's a 7-by-7 vinyl shed that the homeowners installed about 3 years ago, not realizing a permit would be required. The shed is in the side yard rather than the rear yard and violates the side yard setback required of 2 feet. The side yard provided is 0.6 feet. The neighbor next door also had a shed next to their shed in the side yard, so they didn't think about it being a problem. At the same time, they had a hot tub installed. They hired a licensed electrician to do the electric and thought they were doing the right thing. The town received a copy of the electrical certificate, and with that, a code enforcer came to the house and explained that they needed a permit for the hot tub and the sheds and the pool equipment. The hot tub is also not allowed in the side yard. The side yard setback is 1.1 feet, where 4 feet is required. The above-ground pool was installed 4 years ago. The pool filter violates the side yard setback required of 4 feet. The side yard provided is 2 feet. The pool has the proper enclosure with gates that open and self-close. When the pool is open, they are aware that they will need a pool alarm, door alarm, and window alarms.
Why is the pool still open permit?
We need the pool equipment variance.
Yeah, I know that, but
As far as we know, there have been no complaint from the neighbors, and we're respectfully asking the board to grant this variance.
Is it properly enclosed, Ms. Pangallo?
Yes, it is.
you've been to the site?
Yes.
So they built a pool without a building permit, and now they need to get a variance for the pool filter?
Correct.
Assuming the board grants the location of the pool filter, how long is it going to take your client to legalize the swimming pool? That's a safety concern to us.
As soon as the building department then issues the permit, I'll have the inspector go out right away. I told them they needed the pool alarm, the door alarm, and now the new window alarms that are required. So they're aware of everything that they do need. The pool is closed now, so the pool alarm is not installed.
Will they,
But they should be opening it shortly.
and then you'll advise them of the code requirements and have them kind of lean on them to put in those safety issues even before the building department inspects it?
Yes, absolutely. Because I'm sure they'll be opening up the pool within maybe the next week, so make sure the pool alarm is installed and everything is ready for the inspector.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Ms. Pangallo, you'll be notified by mail of the board's decision once it's rendered.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed, any abstentions?
Next, we have cases 279-23 through 280-23, East Meadow, Barry Goldstein. Variances, lot area occupied, rear yard, maintain wood deck attached dwelling, variance side yard, maintain AC unit attached to dwelling, also known as 1487 Cleveland Avenue. 265. Okay, well, I'm kind of in the middle of something right now, yeah. You swear or affirm excuse me, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please take a seat, state your name and address into the record.
Good morning, members of the board, Mr. Chairman. My name is Ashley Lowe. I'm here from Mark Anthony Architects. Our office is located at 1563 Belmore Avenue in Belmore, New York. I am here representing for our clients, Mr. and Mrs. Goldstein, who are the owners and occupants of the subject property. This morning, we are requesting variances to maintain an existing AC unit. Better? Okay. This morning, we are requesting variances to maintain an existing AC unit and an existing rear wood deck. For the existing AC unit, we are requesting to have the side yard setback reduced to 2.01 feet from the required 5 feet, which is a reduction of basically 3 feet. To the benefit of the neighbor, the side of the house on which the AC unit is located, it is next to the neighboring property's garage, so the sound of the unit is being buffered by their garage, since I know that's typically a concern. It is not directly next to living space. We would also like to maintain the rear deck, and we are requesting a variance for a diminished rear yard setback from the required 15 feet to 12.39 feet and 14.16 feet. The deck has an irregular shape, and the depth of the property itself is only 95 feet, where typically in a Residence B zone, the lot would be 100 feet deep. The variance request would be a reduction in the rear yard of 1.35 feet and 2.69 feet, respectively. Additionally, we are also asking to increase the lot coverage from the regular 30% to 36.97%, which is an increase of 6.97%. The existing dwelling alone has a lot coverage of 29.7 by itself, so anything my client did beyond the existing dwelling would have put them in need of a lot coverage variance, regardless of size. My clients use this deck as a way to enjoy their backyard and access the rear of the property, so we respectfully request approval for the lot coverage and rear yard setback variances for the deck, along with the side yard setback for the AC unit. That
Ms. Lowe,
concludes.
I think the relevant, because of the height of the deck, including the railing, I think we go by the 27.5. I don't think we use the 30 because it has to be closer to grade, but it's fine. I mean, in terms of, we understand what you're asking for.
Okay.
How did your client come to know that these items needed to be legalized? Was he doing other work, or?
So he came to I believe that he found out when he did a title search, and he was looking to sell the house and then realized that he had some things that needed to be legalized.
Oh, but there are no complaints from any neighbors that you know of?
No, not that we're aware of. He also did previously legalize the finished storage basement, and that was permitted back in January and will be closed out. Yeah. No. I don't believe they're going to move forward with the sale of the house at this time. It was just a thought at one point.
It's very unusual.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the hearing be closed and the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Ms. Lowe, you'll be notified by mail of the board's decision once it's rendered.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
Aye.
Next, we have cases 281-23 through 282-23, Franklin Square, Joseph A. and Barbara A. Randazzo. Mother-daughter residence, second kitchen, variance, front yard average setback, construct portico and second floor addition, both attached to dwelling, also known as 126 Poppy Avenue. Raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Please take a seat and state your name and address for the record.
Bernard Rogers, 2150 Wantagh Park Drive, Wantagh, New York, 11793.
Deborah Randazzo, 690 Eileen Street, Franklin Square, New York, 11010.
Joseph Randazzo, 126 Poppy Avenue, Franklin Square, New York, 11010.
Barbara Randazzo, 126 Poppy Avenue, Franklin Square, 1010.
Can the applicant's representative please approach the bench? Could you please come up, sir?
August 15, 1972.
Thank you. Could you let the record reflect the fact that I'm recused on this case?
Second to get a few pieces of materials. I need she didn't give you papers? Okay, you can go ahead.
Members of the board, good morning. Bernard Rogers, architect. My office is located at 2150 Wantagh Park Drive, Wantagh, New York, 11793. I'm before you this morning representing my clients Joseph and Barbara Randazzo, the owners of 126 Poppy Avenue, Franklin Square, New York, 11010, Nassau County Tax Map, Section 33, Block 446, Lot 41, Zoned Residence C by the town of Hempstead. My clients are proposing a second-floor addition to their Cape-style house and a front portico. The new second floor is being built for their daughter Deborah and her 2 children to move into it. Case number 281 is for our proposed mother-daughter residence. The occupants of the house will be Joseph and Barbara Randazzo on the first floor and Deborah Randazzo and her 2 under 18-year-old children on the second floor. My clients understand the requirements of the mother-daughter residence and they have received and are in possession of the mother-daughter fact sheet. They know that the house must maintain an outward appearance of a one-family dwelling, that there is only to be 1 electric meter and water meter, 1 doorbell, and 1 mailbox. They are aware that this permit must be renewed every 3 years, and that if there is a change of occupancy or if the house is sold, the second kitchen must be removed. With case number 282, we are seeking relief of average front yard setback for the proposed second floor. The second floor is at a front setback of 23.92 feet, where the required average is 24.7 feet, a deficiency of only 0.75 feet. My clients have spoken to their 2 next-door neighbors, Robert Laughlin at 120 Poppy Avenue and William Bargefried at 132 Poppy Avenue. They have shown them our plans and explained to them why we must come before the board this morning to seek relief. They have both said that they completely understand what we are proposing and have no issues with what we are requesting whatsoever. They have also both signed consent letters that I'd like to submit to the board at this time.
We'll accept those into evidence.
Thanks, Dawn. I'd like to note our proposal conforms with all the other aspects of the residential C zoning. We feel that our proposal also conforms with the aesthetic of the block and of the area. We believe that if approved, it will have no adverse effects on neighboring properties or the neighborhood in general. So in conclusion, I'd like to thank you very much for your time and consideration with hearing our request.
And how many cars do your clients have?
2, I believe, correct? Just 2.
Okay, and it seems you have room to park 2 of them off the street.
Mhm.
Also, the Board of Architectural Review, as you may know, reviews applications for mother-daughter, immediate family. And in this case, they have made no recommended changes. and have decided and opined that the dwelling is suitable for both use as a mother-daughter and upon the cessation of that reversion back to a single-family dwelling.
The open permit for the maintain existing rear wood deck, that is what is before the board at this point?
No,
It is not.
that's not.
It's a different open, it's a different deck. What's
Yeah,
this-
before this is the second floor addition and the front portico.
Okay.
There's an open permit that's been issued for the maintaining of a rear wood deck that has not been inspected as yet.
Also a
Finished partial cellar.
partial finished cell.
So what is the status of those then?
Those will be inspected at the time that the construction work is being inspected on the second floor.
So the only thing remaining to do on those is the inspection?
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Nope, all set, thank you.
So Joseph Randazzo and Barbara Randazzo live on which floor? Upper,
On the first floor.
first floor, and they will remain there.
Mhm.
And Deborah Randazzo and Danielle Ziti, you did this?
No, no.
And Deborah and Dylan Ziti will be on the second floor.
Correct.
No other adults. Thank you.
Or children? Do I have any other questions from the board? Joe?
I move the hearing be closed, the case placed on a decision calendar. When the board renders its decision, you will be notified. Thank you.
Thank you very much, have a great day now.
Thank you. Aye.
Next, we have case 28323, Merrick, Russell Miller. Install pool with less than required front yard setback and install pool equipment not permitted in side yard, also known as 60 McCord Avenue. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Yeah, state your name and address for the record.
Sean Bird, architect for the project, office at 1049 Park Boulevard, Massapequa Park, New York, 11762.
Russell Miller, 60 McCord Avenue, Merrick, New York, 11556.
Good morning. We are before you for a proposed pool installation on a corner property. If you take a look at the site plan, the only spot for the pool that would be feasible is the location proposed. We are proposing a 5-foot setback off of the current property line. Currently, there is a side entry steps on that side of the property where we are proposing the pool. We would like to relocate the steps of that in order to accommodate the pool. But other than that, we can't really locate the pool on the other side of the property line as the driveway is, and the front is the front yard, and the rear yard of this is only approximately 8 foot off the property line. I'd like to note that the property line is approximately 10 feet off of the curb line, so the pool, the line of the pool would be about 15 foot off of the actual curb of the street. The other variance we're seeking is for the pool equipment. The pool equipment, if we were to put it closer to the pool, it would really obstruct the usage of the pool for walking around it and such, so we relocated it in what's considered the side yard, 8 foot off the property line. To note on that side, the house is approximately 30 feet off the property line, the neighbor's house there, so we don't see a noise issue with the equipment being in that location. I'm here for any questions you may have.
we did a project to the house in 2016, and that should have been closed out with we did a second floor addition, and I thought that was all closed out on that permit.
Yeah, this is only for the basement, so you want to go to the office and, it seems to maybe it fell through the cracks administratively.
Okay.
Has it been inspected?
Yeah, it was, the whole house was inspected, because the whole house was redone in 2016. We had a,
So no, this is not on record as being closed, the
Okay.
basement portion.
We'll confirm that, the existing permits all be closed, prior to issuance.
The only one showing open is the basement.
Your neighbor on Johnson Place, you propose a fence on the east side, I believe, of your property. It's come 6 foot all the way out to Princeton. Where's your neighbor's driveway? It's listed on the radius map as sealed, S-E-I-D, seed.
On Princeton.
Where's their driveway?
Are you talking about on Princeton Place, the one directly adjoining the property?
Yes.
That driveway is approximately 21.9 feet away from the property line. So it's on that side of the property, but it's against their house. Their house is about 30 feet off of that property line. It's hard to see from the aerial because there's a bunch of trees.
yes.
Correct.
I believe it's 6 feet.
Do I have any other questions from the board? Do I have a motion?
Proposed matter be placed on the decision calendar. Mr. Miller and Mr. Byrd to be notified by mail the board's decision once it's rendered.
Second.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions?
Next, we have case 28423 Seaford. Thomas Francilis, AKA, also known as Anthonios Francilis. Variance rear yard construct sunroom over existing second-story wood deck attached to dwelling, also known as 2650 Ocean Avenue. Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please take a seat, state your name and address for the record.
Diana Laspisa with Morano Expediting Services, 2938 Hempstead Turnpike, Suite 212, Levittown, New York, 11756. Here on behalf of the property owner, Anastasios Francilis. And we're here before you today requesting permission to construct a sunroom addition onto the rear of the existing dwelling. The proposed sunroom, the property is zoned Residence C, which requires a rear yard setback of 25 feet as a sunroom is being proposed on a second-story deck. The proposal is for a 14.17-foot rear yard setback off of the property line. The sunroom will be 168 square feet, and a portion of that will be only just roofed over, not enclosed, and that consists of 112 square feet. The property address is actually Ocean Avenue, so Brant Place is actually the right-of-way. So if they were to consider the Ocean Avenue property line, so the easterly property line, the front, then they would have been okay as far as side yard setbacks. They do have an existing second-story deck that had a permit from 2000, I believe it's 2018, with a roll-up awning. So the sunroom is being proposed within the footprint of that. It will not encroach any further into the rear yard than the existing deck, which was already permitted. The proposal will not be visible. This property is at the end of the canal, and it fronts on, has two waterfronts, so the canal and the lagoon behind them. So it's not visible for the properties across the lagoon to the south either. They are aware now, after making our application, that there are some open permits that they were not aware of, those not being closed out, but they understand that those open permits, that all had correlated with the house lift, and they are aware now that those have to be closed out at the time of closing this permit out. And actually, one of the permits for the deck will actually have to be amended to remove, a supplement will have to be filed to remove that awning from that permit approval, because it's not going to be relevant at this point, because the awning's being removed, that's where the sunroom's being proposed. So it was something that they were under the impression all those permits were closed out. They had contractors, licensed professionals that handled those permits for them, but for whatever reason, they never followed through. I think it was just maybe a lack of communication, but they're aware that that needs to be addressed now, and I'll guide them through that process when they get to that point with the sunroom application, if the board looks favorable.
Do I have any other questions from the board?
Move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Ms. Laspisa, you'll be notified by mail the board's decision once it's rendered.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Laspisa?
Yes.
There are 7 open permits.
I know,
You're
they're
aware of that?
all, I know. I'm going to walk them through it when they get to that point. I think it's just going to be too much information right now for them, but we'll get that cleared up. Building's very adamant about getting those cleared up nowadays, too.
Can understand.
Thank you.
Next, we have case 23323, Elmont, Meacham 190 LLC. Variance lot area, construct two-family dwelling, also known as 190 Meacham Avenue.
Do.
State your name and address for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. William Benesso for Chelly, Deegan, Tarana, 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Uniondale, New York, here on behalf of the application of Meacham 190 LLC. To my left is Mr. Wasim Hakim. He is the owner of the property, or principal, I should say, of Meacham 190 LLC, which is the owner of the property. He's also the professional engineer on this project. The application was first heard on this by the board on April 5th, at which time testimony and evidence was provided in support of the area variance being requested to permit a two-family dwelling to be built on the subject property. The only relief required is an area variance, as this is the business zone and two-family dwellings are permitted in the business zone. However, we needed an area variance because we do not have the required 12,000 square feet. That said, we established via the testimony and some evidence that we submitted that this area is a mix of both residential, or I should say multifamily residential and commercial properties and uses in the area. It is not out of character to permit this area variance or the two-family house that it would facilitate. And in fact, we pointed to identical relief that this board granted in 2003, just to the south on the east side of Meacham Avenue for an 80 by 80 parcel, identical to this parcel, which is 80 by 80, where the board permitted a two-family dwelling. What required us to come back to the board today, however, is that the board had some concerns about the house design. The house design that was originally submitted proposed 2 separate driveways with tandem parking, or tandem driveways that ran along the sides of both sides of the house. The board didn't think that that was the best idea. There was also no garage associated with the dwelling. It was going to have a full basement with a full bathroom in it, or I should say 2 full basement spaces with full bathrooms in them. And then on the first floor, there was some concerns that at the way the property or the design was laid out. So my client went back to the drawing board and came up with the plans that have been resubmitted. They do not intensify or require any new variances, but I think they address a number of the issues that were of concern. First of all, gone are the 2 separate driveways and the long tandem parking areas along the sides of the building. There will now be one 24-foot wide curb cut in the middle of the house, providing for a 28-foot wide concrete driveway, and each dwelling unit will have its own 1-car garage that'll be basically in the basement. Yes, as you pull in, you go down and you pull into the garage that way. Just like the house that was approved on the property across the street that this board granted an area variance for. That too has a garage that runs into the basement. So what you have now is a much smaller, yes. Yes, you drive into the curb cut. Do you want me, let me approach, if I may.
Like that a couple of hours ago.
That Mr. Vanessa provided the board with the most recent set of plans dated, what date? I don't have a revision date, and this has the old date. Mr. Vanessa, the date on the plans I have is 6/13/21 with no revision date.
Yeah.
I know that can't be right.
Actually, I have, yeah, you're right. I don't have any updated plan numbers on this. But I can say that, for the record, after the April 5th meeting, Mr. Hakim.
Of 2023.
of 2023, Mr. Hakeem put together the new plans, submitted it to the building department on their portal, submitted it to the zoning board on their portal. That was towards the middle of last month, towards the end of last month. It was reviewed by the building department. Building department looked at it and said that it didn't generate any new or greater variances, and it is an updated plan that I just provided to the board. Yes. Yeah, why don't you just go up and redate the plan? Yeah.
And those plans will be stamped.
I assume, Mr. Owens, you probably have to give them a new plot plan. Mr. Hakeem, do you have to do that on all of those sheets or just the one? What do you ordinarily do?
Okay, I can write. Mr. Pellegrini, just for the record, those were submitted in the open.gov portal, so therefore that would be the receive by date. They were received timely. Mr. Vanessa did provide it to us as well, and Paul Montemorano, the plans examiner, was the one that reviewed them and provided them back to us afterwards.
I realize that, but there's an outdated update on the amended, and that's what I...
We'll have Mr. Hakeem, we'll have him redate each page of the plans that have just been submitted. So now that we're all looking at the same plans, as noted, we have modified the plan, done away with the two curb cuts, the two driveways running up the sides of the house for tandem parking. There is now one unified 24-foot wide curb cut proposed on the center of the property, leading to a 28-foot wide concrete driveway that can easily accommodate 4 cars. In addition to that, there are two garages, two one-car garages, one for each dwelling unit. The other modifications is that whereas the prior plans proposed a full bathroom for the 2 basement areas, now we are proposing only half bathrooms, no shower stall, no tub in either one. Also, on the first floor, the access, the layout, as you'll see from the floor plans, has been modified to move the stairs going up to the second floor to the other side of the house, away from the front door, to lessen the opportunity for somebody to convert the house, potentially convert the house to an illegal 4-bedroom apartment. So consequently, based on these modifications, I think we've addressed the concerns that were expressed regarding the house design. I think at the hearing held on April 5th, we addressed the character of the community, the fact that this will not be out of character, will not negatively affect the neighboring property values nor the pattern of development. We pointed out that there is precedent for this exact same relief across the street, and we would ask that the board, oh, and by the way, Nassau County recommended local determination, but we would ask that the board grant the application in its present form. And again, I'll have Mr. Hakeem initial all of the pages and sign and redate all of the pages on the new plans submitted.
Was Mr. Nelson here at the previous hearing, or a real
No.
estate expert?
No.
Describe the area?
Several of us took a look at it, I think. I don't know if you had a chance, but it's
No.
as Mr. Bonesso describes it.
But I did submit, stealing from Mr. Nelson's modus operandi, I did submit a collection of photos pointing out the uses in the area, pointing out the development in the area, and I believe that establishes the points that I've asserted here.
Mr. Chairman, is that your case then, Mr. Bonesso?
That's our case, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, on the decision calendar, Mr. Bonesso, Mr. Hakeem, you'll be notified by mail of the board's decision once it's rendered. Thank you. Have a nice day. Aye. You want me to say it, John? Everyone who's here on the last case of the morning, because we have a number of people here, we're going to give the court reporter 10 minutes to rest her hands before we get started. Okay, Stephanie? All right, so we'll be back in 10 minutes, whatever that makes it.
what you're mentioning, that's where you're picking the pebbles out of this garbage. Yep, yep. Nice diamond collar, honey.
No, Delia wasn't. Nice to meet Delia. Wasn't. Nice to meet you.
Next, we have case 26523, Lido Beach, Eisler Enterprises LLC. Variance, height, construct elevator and bulkhead attached to dwelling, also known as 44 Bath Street. Mr. Chairman, we have a number of people signed in that would like to speak as well, so if you allow, I'd like to swear everybody in all at one time. Everybody who intends on speaking, please stand. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please be seated.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Appearing for the applicant, Howard Avertine, 2116 Merrick Avenue, Merrick. This is the application of Eisler Enterprises, LLC, for a height variance in order to accommodate elevator access to the roof of a single-family dwelling. If I can, I have some packages of photos that depict the home for the board's edification. I can hand those up. The premises under application is located at the northwest corner of Bath Street and Ocean Boulevard in Lido Beach. It has a street address of 44 Bath Street, and it is also known as Section 60, Block 12, Lots 31, 128, and 131 on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. The property has a frontage of 100 feet on Bath Street and a frontage of 45 feet on Ocean Boulevard. It has a total lot area of 4,900 square feet. In 2018, this board granted front yards setback variances on both Bath Street and Ocean Boulevard, and a lot area occupied variance authorizing construction of a 3-story dwelling on the premises. The photos that you see is the dwelling built pursuant to that approval and the building permit obtained subsequently thereto. But after the approval was issued, a proceeding pursuant to Article 78 of the New York Civil Practice Law and Rules was commenced in the Supreme Court seeking to annul this board's approval. The Supreme Court upheld the board's decision, and as indicated, the dwelling was thereafter constructed. The applicant purchased the home in September of 2022. By this application, the applicant seeks a height variance in order to accommodate elevator access to the roof deck. Cliff and Bonnie Eisler will reside in the home. Bonnie Eisler suffers from multiple sclerosis and is physically unable to obtain access to the roof deck by the existing stair. There's a letter from her physician in the file that accompanied in terms of scheduling the hearing, so the medical evaluation correspondence is already in the file. Extending the elevator to roof level is the only way that Ms. Eisler will be able to access and utilize the roof deck. The maximum height permitted in the Residence B zoning district within which the property is located is 30 feet. The height to the top of the elevator shaft bulkhead, as proposed in the drawings, is 38 feet 7 3/4 inches. And again, it allows for the elevator shaft as a vestibule because the elevator shaft itself is not waterproof, and you can see the dimensions and the size on the drawings that have been submitted to the board. And again, we're very familiar with Lido and the surrounding communities, and the board's typical viewpoint toward height variances. However, this is a unique circumstance I would respectfully submit. Ms. Eisler does have a medical condition which would otherwise preclude her from utilizing the deck of her home, the roof deck of her home. This will allow for her to be able to access the roof area by the elevator and have the utility of that area for her. And
Any claim, not that, I'm just going, any claim under the ADA to accommodate?
I would certainly, I'm seeking a variance, but certainly as an alternative, that would be a reasonable accommodation argument under the ADA certainly would apply here. So, yeah, the answer to your question, Mr. Pellegrini, is potentially yes, if that's something that the board wishes to consider, as opposed to the straight variance application. Thank you. Unless the board has questions for me at this time, Bonnie Eisler would like to address the board regarding the request for the relief that's being sought.
Mr. Evertine, I have a few questions.
Sure.
So the house, we all are familiar with the house because it came before this board, as you noted. Is there an elevator in the house now?
There is.
Okay. And it came for some pretty significant variances when it came. Is there a reason that the elevator, the height variance wasn't requested at that time?
At that time, well, the Eislers were not buying the home at that time, so the issue of Ms. Eisler's medical condition was not part of the application. The original application did include a bulkhead on the roof, which subsequently was removed from the plans. So the variances were front yards, setbacks on Bath and on Ocean, and a lot coverage, lot area occupied variance, eliminating the height, and I believe what was being classified at the time as a fourth story as well. The bulkhead was...
But the bulkhead originally on the plans was never approved by the board, was it?
No, it was not.
That's why it was removed, because the board was not willing to grant that height variance along with all the other fairly significant variances, I believe.
We modified the plans in response to feedback received from the board regarding the height issue. But clearly, this situation is different than the builder of a home with no potential buyer, building a home that he's looking to have attractive potential buyers. And so, at that time, the applicant made the decision to remove those variances and to remove those aspects of his plans. Now we have an applicant with a unique circumstance regarding a challenge to her health, which very much precludes her from utilizing the roof deck, which was an integral part of the plan in 2018 and was approved with the roof deck, albeit that it was accessed via stairs only.
But the impact on the community remains the same. Whatever impact on the community and the character of the community and whatever else hasn't changed. You know, the things that the board was adverse to at the time. And again, it's sort of like, you know, sometimes people come to us and they have a house without a garage or something, and then they piecemeal it so it seems like less they're asking for. And that's what I kind of feel like is going on here. And I'm not faulting your client. I'm just saying, you know, it's sort of like, oh no, you can't have that. So it gets taken off. And so the compromise is reached, I guess, so to speak. And now, oh, but now we want it back now that we built the house with all the other variances, you know, that were significant, the lot area coverage and stuff. So That's why I'm asking, and I'm trying to understand, in a way, like, I get your client has a need different than the builder had to also access another level of the house. But I also don't see any, I think the impact on the community and the intensity of the use request here, that part hasn't changed from the last time the board was not inclined to look favorably on the request for the parapet.
Understood. I understand what you're saying in terms of the potential for impacts. However, and I won't speak too much for my client, but if she was able to traverse the steps, we wouldn't be here. So that's really the thrust and the crux of the relief that we're requesting in order to allow her the only possible way that she can utilize the roof deck would be via the elevator. There's no other way for her to be able to get up there. She simply can't take the steps. So that really is what the case boils down to. And I understand the other aspects to this, but that is essentially why we're here, and also why Ms. Eisler would like to address the board, to be able to express her own point of view rather than just myself.
Okay, and they just bought the house though recently?
In
right?
September, yes.
Mr. Avertine?
Yes, sir.
I believe I see 4 decks on this home currently, 2 of which face the ocean. They're on the southerly side and 2 on the northerly side. Is that correct?
Yes, there are 4, yes.
And 2 of the decks are on the 2nd and 3rd floors of the existing dwelling, are they not?
Yes.
So
Your client can access those?
access both of those decks?
Yes, but I think if they're having a family gathering and the family is on the roof, she would be unable to participate with the family on the roof as would be appropriate under the circumstances. So it's really a question of a situation that, in our view, cries out for special consideration under what the circumstances are. I'll let Ms. Eisler explain that. I haven't been up on top of the roof, so I can't tell you, but she can certainly address that.
I have a question. Have your clients explored a chairlift on the stairs?
Well, who wants to address that?
Eisler, 44 Bath Street, Lido, New York, 11561. That would require a cover to keep it waterproof, otherwise it wouldn't work. So we'd be back with pretty much the same request, because there would have to be a cover. The stairs, there's 2 flights of stairs from the top floor to the roof, and that would have to, the second is not covered now. So it would be exposed to all the weather conditions. There are stairs, of course, to the roof. There's a full roof deck. The entire house, almost the entire house, has a roof deck with furniture, and that's where, as Howard said, that's where our family would meet. It's the only area that can accommodate more than, let's say, 4 or 5 people. The terraces or the decks that we're referring to are fairly small. Yeah.
There's no interior stairs that go to the top?
It's halfway is covered, then you go out a door, and then you go up another flight to the roof, which is exposed.
I'd like to speak for myself, please.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Eisler, 44 Bath Street, Lido Beach, New York. And, you're all talking around me, I guess, as opposed to me directly, so I'd like to speak for myself about what it is. I'm a former town councilwoman, and I really appreciate how hard this is for you, and I thank you for hearing my case. I also want to thank my neighbors for being here, because when I first got started, I was very much involved with what was going on in my community, and that's how I became a town councilwoman. And I really want to thank you also for keeping the neighborhood as beautiful as it is, and I know how hard that work is to do. So it's with a very heavy heart that I come here. I'm a town of Hempstead girl, grew up in North Belmore, graduated from Mepham High School. My husband graduated from Long Beach High School. His parents lived there for many years. His father was the head of security for Long Beach High School. His mother worked at the top of Realty. And my grandmother was in Long Beach for a long time. So we really love the community. And as I say, I really appreciate, like probably more so than most, what the environmental impacts are. But what I can do and what I can explain to you that others can't is the battle I go through every day. And when I bought this house, yes, there was an elevator, and I was told it would not be difficult to get the elevator to the roof. I unfortunately inherited all the bad feelings that the neighbors have about this house. And I come about this with fresh eyes and as a fresh person, and I am a person who has very special needs, unfortunately. As you see, I have my dog. I have something that shocks me, so I don't trip over my own feet. I walk with a cane. There are balance issues. There are bathroom issues. There are sight issues, hearing issues. I have a lot of pain because of the way I walk. I walk funny. So all of this is a struggle for me every day. And let me put this to the board. Imagine if in your house, if somebody said to you, you can no longer use your bedroom floors. You can make do in the den downstairs. Or you can't use your kitchen floor because we're going to now say you have you can barbecue on your terrace or in your backyard. This is a big part of my house and one of the reasons why we bought the house, so we can enjoy it with our family. It gets nice breezes. It's beautiful up there. So for me to be denied access would be torture, would be making my struggle every day even harder, knowing that I do not have access to all of my own home. So, I mean, that's what I deal with every day, and like I said, it's almost like you're like making a Solomon decision up there. Who do you go with? Do you go with my community members, who I have the utmost respect for, or do you go with someone like me? All I can say is, I hope you understand the struggle I come with. I hope you will understand what it will mean for me not to have access. When I go up and down a stair, I don't even know where my feet are when I get out of a chair. I have to look down. If I look at a step, if I get on a step, I scrape the back of my calf because I don't know where to place my feet. All of this is very difficult. I need my best friend here, Joy, with me to keep me safe, and she gives me independence. So please don't take away any more of my independence. That's it.
We have the project architect here as well to answer any questions the board may have. And I would also, at this point, unless the board has questions for us, I know there are folks who want to speak, and I would just ask an opportunity to reply to the folks that speak. Patrick, we should stay here? Okay.
Delia Guazzo, Guazzo, 38 Bath Street, Lido Beach, New York, within the directly affected area. I'm also an attorney and am speaking on behalf of certain of the other residents of Lido Beach who were not able to be here today. Mr. Chairman, Ms. D'Amato, fellow other board members, thank you for hearing us. You took a little bit of my my thunder, Mr. Motto. I had submitted a letter to the board. I would like to hand up copies for everyone, make it a formal exhibit. There are photographs attached, and this would give you the opportunity to have them in front of you while I'm speaking. Mr. Albertine, certainly. I'll get another copy for you. I do have additional copies if there are not sufficient number there. If you've not had the opportunity to see it, I will be happy to wait while you read it, so that, and then I can just give you some of the highlights. Absolutely. Sure. This is, the height as presently constructed of this house is at the maximum of 30 feet over the 17-foot addition of the flood elevation zone and the 2-foot freeboard. So that you already have a house that towers over all of the others in the community, simply because of the 17-foot, not variance, but permission that was granted as a result of the flood elevation. When this, going back as Mr. Albertine did over the history, this house originally came to you as an application for a reconstruction, or as the board called it, a renovation of the existing house. It was not. The original house was lifted, then entirely demolished, and an entirely new house was built. If you take a look at Exhibit B, B for boy, you will see the photos of the original house. Looks like this. So you will see it. There are two of them, both showing the size and the scale of the surrounding houses. It was basically a one-story house over a basement with a cutout from the roof. If you take a look, and so as I've said, although the house as originally constructed was built as a reconstruction, it was not. It was entirely new construction. And if you take a look at Exhibit C, which is immediately following, you will see the house as it was constructed. If you compare the two, you'll see the difference. So to call this a reconstruction of the existing house is innovative. The fact of the matter is, as Mr. Motto noted, when this application originally came before this board, the board, there were 3 sets of variances that were requested: lot area, 2 setbacks, and height variance. The original height variance that was requested was 2 feet 9 inches. The board at the time, both at the hearing and in the ultimate decision, expressed its grave concern over adding 2 feet 9 inches over the existing height. It was specifically in the context of the board's concern and the other residents' concern, both in letters and in testimony, that the applicant withdrew, not this applicant, but the prior applicant, the owner of the property, withdrew the request for a height variance. And it was in consideration of that withdrawal that this board granted all of the other variances that had been requested. So what we now have is an entirely new house that was permitted to be built in contravention to what otherwise had been required, had this been built as a new construction. So we now have an applicant who's coming back and essentially seeking to reinstitute or undo the compromise that was granted at the time by this very board. I would note that the request here is for almost 9 feet. It's an additional story. A variance of 9 feet in height is unheard of in Lido Beach. I know, I've lived in Lido Beach my entire life, and I have never, ever seen a single other residence that was granted a 9-foot variance. If you take a look at Exhibit G, It's behind the larger pages. You will see how this house towers over everything else in sight. And finally, if you take a look at Exhibit I, which is the very last exhibit, that is a temporary frame construction, 2x4s, that was put up by the applicant, I thought presumably for this hearing, but then taken down. It is a mock-up of what is now being suggested be built. What is requested here is a variance for 9-foot height variance and the construction of a 13 by 13 by 11 room. You can see the scale of this by taking a look at the worker who's standing next to it. It towers over the existing structure, which even before this towers over everything else. To my mind, what is critical here is that the applicant, there is no question in my mind that Ms. Eisler has a significant disability. But the applicant purchased this house knowing of the existing restrictions. This is an entirely self-created issue. In addition, the applicant is bound by the history of the prior applications for variances. And if you take a look, I've noted the Pecoraro case, which I'm sure Mr. Bogle will be able to advise you of, that the existing applicant is bound, knew or should have known, and is bound by the history of the prior applications with regard to this property. In addition, and this is really the biggest point, there is utterly no evidence before this board that an elevator is required for roof access. There are, and with all due respect to Mr. Eisler, I believe he is mistaken. There are chair lifts, there are side lifts that are built, but there are entire floor lifts that rise. Many, if not all of which, are built not only for interior, but also for exterior access. So there is utterly nothing in this record that would support the suggestion, or that has been reiterated 3 or 4 times, that Ms. Eisler is being denied access to her roof without this construction. Finally, I would just note that there is already an existing stop work order on this property. It's Exhibit A. So apparently construction has been done without the requisite permit having been obtained. And let me just see. Finally, I would say there is the ADA has no application here. The Americans with Disabilities Act applies to public use. There is no provision in the ADA that permits a private individual, with regard to his or her private residence, make any request for reasonable accommodation. And as Ms. Eisler, she gave you the example of being able to use her kitchen or her bedroom as a result of her disability. That's not what we're talking about here. We are talking about exterior construction which has a very significant adverse impact upon the rest of the community. This is a pre-war, beachfront, hamlet, low-rise community. And the existing structure already is an extreme anomaly to the rest of the neighborhood. This would only exacerbate that. I would simply say that there's no basis at all for the variance being requested, and we would ask that it be denied. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Pat Ligori. I am the owner, full-time resident of 33 Bath Street. You have a letter that I submitted citing my objection to this proposal. I indeed have utmost sympathy for Ms. Eisler's condition. However, I must say, as per her own letter, the condition has existed for 33 years. The property was purchased with full knowledge of the condition. The property was purchased knowing that roof access was via stairway. The attorney who represented the builder of the home, who knows what the prior requests for variance were, is the same attorney here. So if he did not inform his clients that there would be difficulty in getting a variance to accommodate a rooftop elevator, shame on them, because they are both very experienced real estate investors and owners. Ms. Eisler stated her own experience on the Oyster Bay Town Council. Mr. Eisler is or was president of his condominium board. Ms. Eisler also was a member of the board, so they do have prior real estate experience and therefore knowledge. I'd like to point out that this is not their primary residence. Their primary residence is a condominium on Central Park West. How do I know this? New York City affords condominium and co-op owners a tax abatement or a star tax abatement. You can only get it if the property is your primary residence. The Eislers have that tax abatement for 2 apartments in the same building, which in itself is a good question because you can only have 1 primary residence. So my assumption is the apartments are somehow combined, and since they're on different floors, I presume there are internal steps which must be navigated because the building does not have private elevators. So in addition, there's also a property in Connecticut, a 2-story property that the Eislers have. So as far as a hardship, again, this is one of many residents at which they will be, among which they'll be dividing their time. Now, Ms. Eisler stated her concern for the community and consideration, and I'd like to point out that in the 7 months that they've been here, they've demonstrated their concern by parking their cars, blocking the sidewalks, which, as you can see, some of us have difficulty walking. And as you know, the street on which we live is heavily trafficked with children going to and from Marvell, and their concern for the community is evidenced by them blocking the sidewalk, forcing people to walk in the street. So I really, while it is heartfelt that she would like to access her roof for potential gatherings, I have to question just how many gatherings there will be, given the number of properties that they can spend their time at. And also, in order to access the elevator level, you must enter the home. There are 5 steps with a height of about 33 inches. Those steps need to be navigated. The elevator does not, to my knowledge, go down to the street level or garage level. So again, this is a home that, knowing the existing health condition, was purchased with full knowledge of what the limitations would be. I think I have the tax documents here, the New York City documents, if you would like them. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michael Barrow. I live at 40 Alabard Street, the street directly behind Bath Street. I've had the residence for 20 years. I'm a full-time resident now, but not always. In the past, I was in North Carolina, and I managed a medical supply superstore. It provides access to many communities in the Durham, Raleigh-Durham area. And I consider myself an expert on these matters because I sold them for more than 7 years, but there are multiple varieties of stair lifts that can be obtained that are outdoor and weatherproof. You can also have one that can go around the corner so that it can accommodate multiple levels of stairs, so it can, as long as there's one internal wall that it can hug. And they can even be attached to the stairs themselves and on a railing, which can be aluminum and weatherproof for the beach environment. So there are multiple varieties. There are also some that accommodate wheelchairs, so that you don't even have to do a transfer into a chair. You can actually put your wheelchair on it, and it will lift the entire wheelchair up to the level that they seem to be determined to get to, which I completely understand. And I welcome our new neighbors to the neighborhood. I have never in 20 years been before this board in opposition of anything, but just the other day as I sat in my living room looking out at the beach view, which I no longer have because their house blocks it, I noticed the wooden frame, which was Exhibit I in that photograph. I also took a photograph from my roof because I clambered up there to just show the dramatic difference between the other rooftops in this community, in this hamlet that I've enjoyed for many years and was the reason I lived here and continue to live here. And the difference is shocking, and it provides not only shade for the neighbors on Bath Street, but it provides a blocked view from anybody else in the houses further away than the beachfront home that they own. I would like to submit this. It's a JPEG, but I have a but I will provide with to the email account a print of it. All I have is a JPEG of it right now on a disk, so I'll provide that.
Without seeing it, I reject. I mean, how could
If we have a computer, I can put it into a computer, or but in any event, it is not dissimilar, except the only difference is it shows a rooftop view of the other rooftops, which are much lower, and then they're shockingly larger, and the construction that had started apparently without a permit, which was then taken down before this hearing. I just wanted to give a small history also, because before they ever owned it, I watched the house in question be raised up on stilts, totally existing, then the roof taken off, then one wall taken off, another wall taken off, the third wall taken off, then the fourth wall, except for the door, taken off, leaving only the door and the doorknob, and then the door disappeared, and on the doorknob, because it was supposed to be raising of an existing house. Well, this is a totally different house, and even the doorknob disappeared, and it became a wall. They finally got a stop work order because it was obviously not raising a house, and I don't know that that was ever addressed. I never complained about it, but it is an eyesore to the community. It also provides an environmental issue, because if we allow this one-time, non-precedent setting example, we have allowed every single house, not only in Lido Beach, not only in the Lido Dunes, but all the way from Atlantic Beach to Point Lookout, to do the same thing. And it'll be a race to the sky. They're the front row house. They block everybody behind them. It's like having Mr. Lincoln sitting in the front row of the theater with an 11-foot tall top hat on. Please ask them to remove that top hat. They don't need it. There's other ways to access it. It can be done. They certainly have the means to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Adrienne Zessman. I am adjacent to the property, 44 Bath. I am a lifelong owner and resident for over 50 years at this house. The new owner is trying to bend particular zoning codes that have been established to protect the other homeowners. The height variance that is being requested has already come in front of this board in 2018, having been denied, then requested again, and then pulled at the 11th hour. And now requesting again by a new owner is wrong and abusive request for a variance. The height variance was not given then and should not now. The excessive height will ruin the community and all of the others near this barrier island, including Point Lookout, Atlantic Beach, and others. An addition of any sort, Even a mechanical on a roof deck, specifically this one, is a 4th story. This house is out of scale for this lot even now. The fact that this is coming in front of the BZA again is an abuse of building codes and regulations that protect and will impact all of us. There is no hardship here for this owner having the elevator to go to the roof deck, which is a non-primary function space of this home. Per the ADA and ABA, American Barrier Free Accessibility Standards Association, this is a private home, not public. The roof deck is not where the master bedroom or the kitchen are, which are considered primary function spaces. The way to resolve this is to incorporate any additional mechanical inside the home and add a chairlift. This can work and solve their problem. This house has deprived many homeowners of open space views on the 2 adjacent blocks, as well as shadowed nearby properties. There is no hardship here. The new homeowners knew what they bought, and any due diligence by their team would have uncovered the history of pulling the request for the 4th story of any sort. This is a major ask of the regulatory codes instituted, and perhaps the developer should have not yesed you and been more upfront with you. I hope that the board sees the magnitude of this application and the detriment to all the residents at large. We are all affected. This proposal of a 4th story will further dwarf all of the other homes in addition to devaluing many of the homes in the area. This will create a dangerous precedent in this enclave. I believe the board must stand firm and enforce the existing zoning codes. They are there to protect the other homeowners as well. Awarding this variance will be precedent-setting and will be revisited time and time again by other applicants seeking the same treatment based on precedents. This will have major impact on the barrier island. If granted, the neighborhood will be eroded of character, natural beauty, and spaciousness, with decks, mechanical shadows, creating dark alley-like topography. This is a unique part of Long Island, such as Point Lookout, Atlantic Beach, Amagansett, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, and soon will look like a city. We need to maintain the beauty of Lido Dunes. We rely on this board to maintain the beauty and quality of life for all neighbors and not to create precedent of building 4th floor additions or stories. This height proposal will impact everyone. I want to say that I appreciate your thoughts of being a good neighbor, and we all want to be good neighbors, but what you really should be asking for is an additional curb cut so that your cars, having family, can park along the building which was originally there. I mean, it's ludicrous that the cars are always into the street. I saw school buses 2 weeks ago going around the cars, forgetting about workers, personal cars. It's a problem. It's really a problem. And again, this is before summertime when we all have guests visiting. That's what you should be asking for, and I'm sure a curb cut would be given for at least 2 more cars along the building. So I also have photographs that I could present to the board. It's an aerial view of the house showing that it's the highest house in the dunes. It shows the roof deck, it shows the parapet and the bulkhead. Anything additional. You can keep those. What? Yes. Yes. I also have a printout from the ADA about wheelchair lifts, and again, that it's not governed for private properties, only for public use, and there's a photograph of a chairlift. So, you know, it can be reworked, and that's all I have, and I appreciate your time, and thank you. No.
Hello, my name is Carol. Hello, my name is Carol Barrow, and I am neighbor at 40 Alivard Street, along with my husband. And the reason we chose this hamlet was because it was quaint. And I just met Bonnie Eisler. She's a nice lady, pardon, and we don't have much community because we don't have that many people, and I like everybody who's here. In any case, I wrote this before I met Bonnie today, and I'm going to start it. Was our new neighbor going to ask for forgiveness, not permission? The summer resident who bought 44 Bath Street may be physically challenged, but it is a new construction with an elevator already in it. How about an interior stair lift, which doesn't need a permit or variance? The other next door neighbor already uses a stair lift, and it doesn't break any building height codes. 2 elevators and 2 elevator shafts in one home? I'd call that disregarding neighbors and abusing the town of Hempstead Building Department. Thank you.
Hello, Stephen Morrow, 28 Bad Street, Lido Beach. I live within the 200 feet of the Eisners. To keep it very quick, there is absolutely no evidence that I heard from the Eisners that this board should grant the unheard of 9 feet high variance for a 180 square foot 4th-story addition. There has been no evidence here that says that this is necessary for Mrs. Eisner to get up to the roof. And I also want you all to realize that this is a seasonal roof. And one thing you should be aware of about seasonal roofs, and down in Lido Beach and Long Beach for that matter, usually by 3 o'clock to about 7, we get a lot of wind. And most of the folks who have these roofs don't even go to them because there's too much wind up there. So this is going to be used occasionally by a non-primary resident. To grant this type of variance is just unheard of. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to address a few points, and then Ms. Eisler would also like to address a few points. Obviously, there's quite a lot of dislike for the existing home. That home was built and has a certificate of occupancy, so there's no issue with respect to the existing home. It was built in full compliance with the variance that was granted, and also with the building department requirements, and inspections were performed, and CO was issued. Post-Sandy, the board is fully aware of the height issues, and so most of the homes in the surrounding area were built before Sandy, and many of them have 3 levels as well, but they aren't elevated. Unfortunately, and this is in all of the beachfront communities, we're all very familiar with it. From Atlantic Beach to Point Lookout, it's the same story with everything that's being built new. With respect to the stop work order that was mentioned, a stair for access to an electric meter was being constructed. The applicant was advised that they did not require a permit for that, since the elevated electric meter had to have access to it to be read. To the extent a permit is required, they'll get the permit for the stair leading to the electric meter. That's what the stop work order was issued for. That's what they were told, that they had to have an elevated, maybe the architect can address that. They were told it had to be mounted at a certain height, and it had to have an accessible stair with a landing. I'm sorry? Yes, well, that was a temporary structure which was being put up there to try to create some simulations, but it was taken down. It was taken down immediately because of the fact that obviously a complaint was registered with the town. It wasn't staying; it was going up, and we never even got a chance to create the the images that we wanted to create. Yeah, two different things. The stop work order was issued because an inspector saw that there was the steps leading to the electric meter on the side of the house, and indicated that a permit was required, even though my client was advised that since it was being required by the utility, a stair with a landing, you didn't need a permit. So that's what that was all about. And I just also want to clarify for the record that there were statements made about a height variance being applied for and denied. That is inaccurate. There was never a denial of a height variance request in connection with this property. At the time, the request for the height relief was withdrawn. And upon hearing a lot of the statements, and it's unfortunate, but we understand the situation. Under the ADA, ADA does apply to variance cases, and the issue becomes if a variance is granted, that, as the board is fully aware, runs with the land. It is not peculiar to a particular applicant. If the board, in its discretion, declines to issue a variance, but instead determines that approval should be issued to afford a reasonable accommodation to someone with a disability that falls under the ADA, which multiple sclerosis does, that does not then run with the land. It is personal to the individual with the disability. And so, at the time, let me just finish if I could. And so, at the time that Ms. Eisler would no longer own the home or reside at the home, then the elevator shaft on the roof would then necessarily be removed.
But doesn't she have a reasonable accommodation if the gentleman who testified as it relates to the medical devices, wouldn't she have a reasonable accommodation available to her without a variance?
I don't know what that would be, and I don't know what he analyzed in terms of making that conclusion that there is a reasonable or appropriate alternate solution.
Okay.
And whether they would work under the circumstances of the existing conditions at the home. So I don't know if our architect is prepared to speak to that, but maybe Ms. Eisler is. I don't know that. But what I also would like to say is, in light of what we've heard and what we could reasonably have anticipated, that we can make some modifications to the drawings that are before you to reduce the bulk. For instance, while not optimal, we can remove the portion of the structure that encloses the existing stairs. We can also remove that portion of the structure which encloses mechanical and relocate the mechanical to the garage within the building. Also, in relation to the statement that was made by one of the residents, the elevator is accessible from the garage. Ms. Eisler does not have to go up the steps of the house to get to the elevator. It goes all the way down to grade level in the garage. I'd like to, if you can give me the drawings showing what we're talking about. We could also reduce by approximately 1 foot the height from what is in the plans before the board by condensing and maybe you can explain that, Mr. Compton, and hand up copies of the plan which depicts the reduced size bulk and also the reduced size height. Just give your name and address for the record.
Ben Compton here from Joe Bello Architects, 15 Broadway in Amityville, New York. I would like to submit for the record 2 sets of sketches for the bulkhead.
Which one is this? Do you want, this is the reduced one, and this is the reduced height. They're the same plan that they have.
Sir, you're a registered architect?
I am.
should show those to the opponent.
So how many copies of those do you have? How many copies?
I have brought 11 total.
Do you want to give at least one to the
Yeah, he's-
residents, please?
Sure, that's what we're doing now.
Okay, thank you.
Just let me know when you have the plans in front of you, and I'll
Before we
explain.
do, I have a question. I believe it was stated that the mechanicals could be located in the garage.
So the original plan, the bulkhead, we were told at the time or requested by the elevator company to have a mechanical room up on the top floor with the elevator. So that's what that little mechanical area is off to the side, was actually a mechanical room for the elevator equipment. We've since, after the initial submission, we've been told that the elevator company is able to relocate that basically interior in the garage, elevated above the flood elevation, so we'll have to make accommodations inside the basement for that, but they have been told after they looked at the exact situation, they're able to accommodate that on the inside. Yeah.
You've addressed.
Garage, ground floor, sorry, for clarification, ground floor, because there is no basement, it's above.
You knew where I was going. and-
Yes.
So, Mr. Compton, please take the board through your submission and now explain the dimensions of the reduced size elevator and vestibule bulkhead, and explain why we need the vestibule portion rather than just the elevator shaft portion, and also explain the reduction in height, please.
So if you'll look at the drawing package SK1, which is simply the reduction in plan for the bulkhead, the reduction, as we discussed before, eliminated the mechanical room over that. Additionally, the space over the stair, the roof over the stair, was there to help weatherproof that, since there is a door there, and provide to keep the wind or the rain and snow off that platform. With the reduced plan that you see before you, there's the elevator shaft, which needs to come up to the roof, and then additionally, there's a vestibule there. The reason for that vestibule is for weather tightness, due to the fact that you have a door, you want to be able to open it. If there's ever driving rain or anything like that happens, then there's no weather protection for that elevator shaft, and water can then come in if for whatever reason there's a leak. The vestibule gives you that weather protection to the elevator shaft. And that new dimension now is the one dimension remains about the same, just because that's all we had before with the elevator shaft and the vestibule, but the other direction, the width of that shaft, the width of that space is now reduced to 5'8" for that. SK1A is the other sketch, which is a height reduction. The plan remains the same. However, the original design had a weatherproofing step as you came out of that vestibule, just to prevent water, snow, and anything else from getting in there. We can eliminate those 6 inches that were originally designed. Additionally, due to the reduced size of this bulkhead, the structure can be reduced because we're not spanning as far, so we can save a couple inches there. And then the third area where we're able to reduce slightly is, from a constructability standpoint, the parapets on these, they like to be a certain height so the contractors can physically get in there and flash and do their work. That has also been reduced down pretty much as it can. As a result, we were able to pull about 1 foot 2 inches out of the height in the drawing SK1A.
Since you're an architect and you have the ability, you drew the plans. Isn't it possible, what that other gentleman had said, that he sells the equipment, chair, stair lifts and climbers and lifts, et cetera? Couldn't this be accompanied, this application, instead of that, you know?
So we have not visited every single option. The major difficulty with putting any sort of chairlift up to the roof is that the stair is half inside and half outside, and there's a door between the two, which means that you couldn't do it with a single chairlift. You would have to get up to a landing, a small landing, open a door, get off the chairlift, open a door, get out, close the door, get onto a second chairlift, and get up to the roof. We have not, and I'm not sure of the clearances for the manufacturers. There's certain clearances that are required at the tops and bottoms of all these stairs. We've not gone down the path of looking at every single product and option that's out there to see if there's physically something to work. But I know that would be very difficult, and that with mobility issues, trying on a small platform to get on and off a chair and open a door, it would be difficult.
Wait, so the elevator proposal is obviously that shaft going up?
Yes.
When we talk about the chair, some other device, a lift of some sort or whatever, that would be in the existing stairwell. What about some kind of lift thing at the top of the elevator, or only the stairwell is the only option?
For a chairlift, there's no vertical chairlifts. You know, I mean, you have to go up
No,
a set of stairs. I'm trying to understand what you're.
Because the shaft exists, right?
Yes, so above, so if the original plan, there's what's called an overrun on an elevator, which I won't get into technical, but basically there's a space above that. The original plans, there's actually that space on the roof. There's no actual like space above that elevator. It's for all the equipment on top of the elevator that's there. So there is not actually space above that elevator. It's taken.
Yeah, I just have, Ms. Eisler would like to make a statement in rebuttal as well, please.
I mean, there were some inaccuracies that I would just like to clear up that were stated by my neighbors, because some of them really haven't taken the time to know me or ask me personally the questions. So I'd like to just tell you. But so basically, yes, we do have an apartment in the city, and it's one apartment that was put together. I totally have elevator access between, because the building is served by an elevator. Otherwise, I couldn't live there. And the thing about us living in Lido, the house is new. We've had a lot of workmen coming. I've called and gotten parking certificates so they would not get a million tickets. When you get a new home, I don't know if any of you were aware, but there's painting, there's wallpapering, there's curtains. I had to do AV, I had to do video. There was just all the stuff that wasn't done by the developer. So if there were cars in the street for doing that, I apologize to my neighbors for the inconvenience, but that was temporary and will come to an end. I have never served on the board of my condominium. Just want to make that clear. I have never served on a condominium board. We do not own a house in Connecticut. We do not own a house in Connecticut. So I guess I wanted to clear up that, and also the thing about the stop work order. We, under the CO, we had to have a second floor PSE&G monitor, a meter. The house was required to have a deck and a landing. The builder was in a hurry. He built the deck, the stairway straight out and bisected my yard. So all we were doing was moving that over, and I have to keep that. I am not using that deck or that landing. I do not want that staircase or that deck or that landing, because it takes away from my backyard. But PSE&G have required that I put that up. There is going to be no use for that whatsoever, except for the electric guy to go up and read the meter. And if I could do without it, it would be my pleasure not to have it. The other thing I wanted to say is this is not a vanity issue for me. This is something that will affect my everyday quality of life and the use of my house, use of my home. And I think, unless you walk in my shoes, it's pretty hard to say, well, it doesn't matter if you have access. Well, you can do this. Well, you can do that. You can't. And I'm not in a wheelchair. So for people to start talking about wheelchair access, it's really hard for me to sit here and listen to things like that being thrown around, that people who have really no idea about what's going on with me personally. The only one who could speak for me is me. And I'm not in a wheelchair. That staircase, you see I have the dog. For me to go up, let's say I was to use a chairlift and get out, open the door, get the dog in, because I have to take care of her. Her safety is paramount. This is not a dog that I just put a sign on that says that she is a service dog. The good news is I have the service dog. The bad news is I qualified for a service dog. And part of my responsibility is to see to her safety. And for me, and she follows me everywhere. She is my shadow. And I can tell you there was no way would be ever able to get up and follow me up that stairway with the door open, with the door closed. It would just never work. And I have a responsibility towards her as well. She takes care of me. I have to take care of her. So that chairlift thing, the way the house is constructed, would never work. And my husband and I bought this house with the intention of spending our golden years here, okay? My neighbors don't know that. They've never spoken to me. We don't intend to la-di-da all over the place. We've done that already. We've done that already. This is supposed to be where we spend most of our time, and I've been spending a lot of time making it comfortable for us. And I dare say what we've done has helped raise the prices of my neighbor's home because of everything that's been done with this house. So they will all see a financial benefit someday if and when they ever decide to sell their home. And as I walk down the street that goes along the water, I have seen many, many large homes, some that appear pretty much as big or bigger than mine, that have had to get variances for whatever they needed. So I am willing to work with this board and do whatever is required to get this for my needs. We will make it smaller, we will make it shorter, we will do whatever. And if you grant it to me under that ADA precedent that says it goes with the person instead of the house, then what my neighbors are worried about with starting a precedent and these enormous skyscrapers being built in the dunes can't happen. I just want you to know, that's all I need. I don't care, I don't need it to be permanent. Just make it stick with me so I have access. Just approve it that way. So when I die and they read my obit, the first thing they can do is tell my heirs to take down the elevator. That's fine with me, okay? I don't need this to be a permanent structure, but I need it to live in my home and get the full enjoyment of the barbecue that's up there, of the stereo equipment we put up there, because of all the furniture and upholstery that I spend time picking out so that I can enjoy that part of my house. That part of my house is furnished now, but if you don't approve it, I'll never be able to see that and enjoy that. So I will take it any way I can get it. I want to be clear, this is not a vanity project for me. So I thank you for your indulgence. Again, I thank my neighbors for all their thoughtful comments, and I hope you'll approve it. Thank you.
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar.
I would like the opportunity to respond to the new plans, 30 seconds.
I-
Just see them today?
We usually only have one.
Well, these were just presented today. We had no opportunity. If we'd had them in advance, we would have been happy to address it.
Mr. Abertine, do you have any objection
Would it,
to that?
No.
Thank you. I'll be very brief.
Remarks aren't going to be any different.
Thank you, Gary. The Americans with Disabilities Act does not apply here. If the applicant wishes to make a new application on that basis, we will create the record and we will address that. The new plans still have an addition, a height of 7.5 feet. Sorry. The ADA, Delia Guazzo, G-U-A-Z-Z-O. The ADA does not apply. If the applicant wishes to revise the application and make that formal, we will be happy to create a record that shows that it does not apply here. So any consideration of the idea that this could be personal to this applicant is incorrect.
Thank you. We're not going to go on with
Everyone's
this.
not speaking.
No,
Everyone
and
is not
the o-
speaking. Pardon me? No. We've,
I think it's safe, I think we all can figure out that you have the same objections to the slightly revised plan as you have to the other plan. I mean, I don't think anything changes. Thank you. Okay. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move the hearing be closed and matter be placed on decision calendar. Everyone who signed in on this case will receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it is rendered. Thank you all for coming. Have a nice day and a safe home.
Second.
Aye.